After so long, the long-awaited SCAR is finally here. This was no easy feat. It uses thousands of pieces, is built one-to-one scale with the real thing, and it actually shoots. But it doesn't just shoot, it's semi-automatic. It might not be my most powerful LEGO gun, but it definitely is the funnest to shoot. By the way, I'll be dropping a free tutorial soon. Now, to show you what this thing can really do, let's take a look at all the different features, starting with the mag release. This was the first thing that I designed on the SCAR, and well, it's a pretty simple mechanism, but it works so well. And let me tell you, loading in the mag is smoother than butter. To get it to be so smooth, I use this cheese slope. When the mag pushes up into the gun, it pushes the cheese slope out, which then locks into place, and to release it, you simply have to press this button. The mag itself is pretty simple. I built it off the design I use for all my other LEGO guns, but I made a few changes. First off, you'll probably notice the black wedge plates on the side. These might just look like they're for looks, but they also help keep the mag aligned properly. Another important piece is this long yellow rod. It's placed just a hair lower than a Technic beam would lay. This is important because the way the mag sits, it angles down slightly. If it were for this rod, the dart might get jammed in the barrel. This piece also allowed me to add this pin. Its job is to keep the mag perfectly aligned. Because of all these techniques, the gun will very rarely get jammed. And if the gun shoots 100% of its darts, you're probably going to want to hit 100% of your shots. So you're going to need some good iron sights. And that's why I made sure these sights are perfect. They can of course fold up and down, but they're also made to perfectly align with the real SCAR's sights. To make them super accurate, I use this axe piece. It makes the perfect front iron sight. And for the rear sight, I use these LEGO studs with holes in them. These sights are super easy and super fun to aim with. Holding it side by side with my airsoft SCAR, the LEGO one actually feels better. It weighs twice as much, and comparing the weight to a few LEGO sets, I'd estimate it would cost around $200 to $300 if it were a real LEGO set. Before I show you how this thing works, let me show you what it can actually do. How does this thing actually work? Well, to show you, we need to take a look at how a real semi-auto gun works. When you pull back the charging handle, the firing pin locks back. Then, when you pull the trigger, it releases and hits the bullet. But a bullet is actually made up of two parts, the casing and the actual bullet. There's gunpowder inside the casing that explodes when the firing pin hits it. This explosion sends the bullet flying. On a semi-automatic gun, the pressure from the explosion is used to send the firing pin back, so it can lock back in place, allowing you to shoot it again. But that mechanism won't work on a LEGO gun, because the darts obviously don't explode. But there's another option. A double-action revolver uses the trigger to pull the hammer back, or in my case, the firing pin. The firing pin slips off the trigger, it gets pulled into the dart by some rubber bands, and finally, this piece on the firing pin resets it using this tiny rubber band. This mechanism is perfect because it allows for a quick reset so you can shoot darts super quickly. With all these different features, it took me forever to design. It all started with the mag release, which only took me 2 days to build. But then, when I got to the semi-auto mechanism, I ran into problem after problem. I was in need of some inspiration, so I researched semi-auto guns and LEGO guns for hours. After watching all these videos on screen, I finally understood how to make the mechanism work. But actually building it was a lot harder than I expected. I had to use a specific combination of parts to make everything line up properly. When I finally thought I got it working, I realized it only shot a few feet, but for me, that wasn't enough. So I added more rubber bands, but then tragedy struck. The design wasn't strong enough to hold the power of the rubber bands, so the gun broke. I had to redesign the entire semi-auto mechanism from the ground up, but finally, after hundreds of hours of work, I had finished the mechanism, and all I had to do was detail it. I had the stock, barrel, and sights. But there was another issue. The darts would get stuck in the barrel, they were hitting these beams inside. So to solve this, I added some panels on the inside of the barrel. So finally, all I had to do was test it. I'll make sure a video never takes this long again. And don't worry about it, because I will have a tutorial dropping sometime next week. Then I'll have a video on this butterfly knife coming the week after. And you'll just have to wait to see what comes after that. Subscribe!